was doing my master's in Scotland, I started feeling that I needed to heal my ancestral trauma. My ancestors were exiled and uprooted due to political conflict, genocide, including the partition of India in 1947. But I also felt that the trauma went even further back. It was just an intuition that I had. Modern psychology and epigenetics, it suggests that trauma can be inherited, not just emotionally but biologically. Studies show that extreme stress and suffering can alter gene expression, which then gets passed down to future generations. This explains why people sometimes carry deep fears, anxieties, or even patterns of struggle that don't seem to originate, at least in their lifetime. I had them too. Many religious and spiritual traditions, including my religion, which is Hinduism, Buddhism, and indigenous cultures, acknowledge the same fact in many different ways. And they believe that unresolved pain from ancestors, it lingers in the family lines until it is consciously addressed and released. Coming back to my time in Scotland, I then took a workshop on ancestral healing where we were given different kind of rituals and practices to release this inherited trauma, to understand the patterns. But when I tried to do them, I had a strong intuitive feeling that I shouldn't. I also didn't have the materials required for the rituals, for example, candles and everything, since I lived in a dorm. Instead, my intuition told me to do Ho'oponopono, a Hawaiian prayer of reconciliation and healing, and I was guided to practice it for 40 days. This ritual of 40 days is called Chalya in Hinduism. So, whenever you chant a mantra, it is said that if you do it for 40 days, it brings about magnanimous shifts in your life and a lot of changes. So, that's exactly what I did. I chanted this prayer for 40 days to release my ancestral trauma. I did not know anything about this prayer prior to this intuition except for what the phrases were. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I did not know the background, the origin, what it was used for. I just knew that this prayer existed. And now my intention was to clear the trauma because of this, since my intuitive hits told me so. I did not question it. I just wanted to get rid of the trauma which was irritating every bit of my being, and it was affecting almost all aspects of my life, my father's finances, my health, and even construction of our house. But this is where the miracle happened. A few days after starting this process, I came across this YouTube reel where a Hawaiian person explained what Ho'oponopono really is. It's often misunderstood as just repeating, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. But in its traditional form, Ho'oponopono is a process of making things right, restoring harmony in the relationships, not just with others, but with oneself, with ourselves, and across generations. It's based on the belief that our inner conflicts and ancestral wounds, they contribute to the problems we face in life, which is true and was true in my case as well. And by taking the responsibility for them, by accepting them, we can clear them. You'll be able to see the exact comment on the screen, and it says, and I quote, I actually really like your song and I think it's nice, but Ho'oponopono doesn't mean I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me in Hawaiian. It's not even a prayer. It means to make right or balance. It's a process where the head of your family bring the family together in a circle, and each person has a chance to speak about the problems they had with someone else in the circle so that they are able to squash that problem right then and there. They continue until each person speaks. If by the end of the last person, and there are still harsh feelings between people, the process continues even if it takes hours until the family is balanced again. Harsh words are said, crying and physical fighting at times, but at the end of it is peace and forgiveness from one another. It's not a fun process to go through, but it's needed. And I was nothing short of shocked when I read this, because that is exactly what I was trying to do, to resolve the conflicts which I was not a part of, to resolve and heal whatever my ancestors had been through, whatever they were carrying, which was irking them even now after maybe hundreds of years. In many spiritual traditions, This ancestral healing is necessary and an indispensable part of the spiritual process, especially in shamanism, because unresolved suffering in lineage creates different cycles of pain. This also is reflected in psychotherapy. If you've been to one, you'll know that family constellations are made, and that therapy explores how hidden traumas in a family system can unconsciously dictate different behaviors and life choices across generations, which basically means your trauma and the things that you go through, it affects how your genes are evolving, how your future generations will evolve. And it's actually scary when you think about it. It tells how important it is to be mindful of every single thing that we do, of how we go about life. Ho'oponopono works by clearing negative patterns at a very, very deep level. I firmly believe this, and there were a lot of miracles that I personally witnessed during those 40 days. A lot of things in our lives got better after that process. I'm grateful that I could do this not just for myself, but for my entire ancestral line. It's as if this process released the energetic weight of those past conflicts, the untimely deaths, betrayals, accidents, traumas, unresolved grief, and allowed healing to flow, even if it was very difficult for me at times, because I did not know whose grief I was feeling, and there were days when it was way too much to process. So, if you are dealing with ancestral trauma or any kind of pattern which is affecting your life in any way whatsoever, whether consciously or unconsciously, I highly, highly, highly recommend starting Ho'oponopono. If you can't do 40 days, start with 10, 11, or 30, whichever number suits you. 108 repetitions, or 1008, or just 10. It totally depends upon you, but I recommend 108 repetitions for 40 days. I will be making more videos on ancestral healing when the time is right. But for now, if you are here, take this as your sign to begin right now. You carry the strength of your ancestors along with the grief. So use that strength and transcend. And once you are done with all this, I would love to know if it actually helped you. Thank you.